Hi, it is Natasha,
And it's Khalil, aka KCN.
and we are the co hosts of
Woke
Woke and
and free.
Free. Thank you for tuning in to our ninth episode of Woke and Free. If you've been joining along with our conversation for the past couple of weeks, you know that Woke and Free is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything that is important to us, to you, and the world. And of course, nothing is off the table. In this episode, we have a lot to discuss. First and foremost, we're diving deep into the conscious rap conversation. Is it dead? Is it alive? And we also have a wonderful interview with the one and only Miss Eves. So before we dive deep into both of those things, let's go over the ground rules. Have you subscribed to Woken Free on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, or YouTube? If not, do so now. Please share the episode with your friends, your family, and also make sure that you holler at us on social media. This week, a lot of you were really giving some good feedback on the conversation of rap on Instagram. Love to hear more from you guys on Facebook, on Twitter, and also, again, you'll talk to us on YouTube or SoundCloud.
Each week, we like to share a little bit about us before we dive into the topic for the episode. Last week, we shared our favorite type of candy we like to receive in our trick or treat bags. This week, we are sharing what is the worst superpower we could have. For me, Aquaman is a legendary hero with the great power to control sea creatures. Yep, that's right, sea creatures. So if I were to have his one unique power to control sea creatures, it'd be pretty much useless. You couldn't use it on land where most people reside and where most activity takes place. At least I could chat with the fish of the sea, I guess.
Why are you coming for Aquaman? That's so mean, Khalil.
I know he's coming up in the movie with the Justice League, but
Mm-hmm.
he's really not so cool.
I mean, I think there's something to be said about having power of the sea, like Poseidon, right? Doesn't he have what does he control?
Well, he can control water and everything aquatic. That's a little different than Aquaman, just talking to fishes and hanging out with them.
You're mean. Okay, fine. I guess for me, I guess if we were to have, if you're saying what's the worst superpower to have, maybe anti-frizz, like for hair stuff, because it seems like I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would be like a really cool power either.
Yeah, that would be even more useless than mine.
Pleasant, very pleasant. Okay, so now that we've had that awkward moment, let's go into first talking about conscious rap. So, what do you think conscious rap is, Khalil?
To me, it's all political. It's real. It's in your face. No apologies. That's what I think of when I think of conscious rap.
Okay. So, according to the Urban Dictionary, conscious rap is a subgenre of hip hop that focuses on creating awareness and imparting knowledge. Conscious rappers traditionally decry violence, discrimination, and other societal ailments. It's propelled by the conviction that radical social change comes through knowledge of self and personal discovery. So, AKA, yeah, it's like in your face, unapologetic. Let's be real. It's really woke and
Free?
free. Exactly.
So, who are some conscious rappers? I like to mention a few, and we've got to include Kendrick Lamar,
Yeah.
Immortal Technique,
Mm.
MC Light, Lupe Fiasco,
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Blow, Big Daddy Kane,
Mm.
Ice Cube, and Killer Mike.
Wow. Okay. Well, to add to that list, Thought Co mentions KRS1, Common, Talib Kweli, The Roots, Kanye West, Most Def, Pharaoh Munch, Chaos, of course, Nas, right? And
Yep.
Lauren Hill.
Woody woo.
Mm-hmm. So, why do you think conscious rap is important?
Are you asking me, my dear?
Yes, my love.
The lyrics of conscious artists can expose things like the prison industrial complex, the mistreatment of groups of people in society, and the widening economic gap in society.
Okay. Recently, I guess I would say maybe a couple of months ago, I was watching something on Facebook, and I was watching a clip with Queen Latifah, and she was saying that really now is the time for a lot of these rappers to use their craft and their time to talk about what's really going on in the world. Not everything really needs to be about all the fancy cars you drive, all the exotic places you visit, or all the fun things you do in and outside of the bedroom. I think that you could also talk about some of the unrest and divide that we have in this country, some of the hatred and some of the misunderstanding and miscommunication. And I think that that's why conscious rap is important, because there aren't a lot of places where people feel comfortable to be true and very forthcoming with their story and their narrative. So why not rap about it?
I think it's time to get into our talk with Miss Eves.
All right, all right. Let's do that.
I don't know if you've listened to our podcast before, but each week we like to share a little bit about ourselves. So we just come up with like certain little tidbits about us. So what I wanted to ask you is, if you could have a superpower, what would be the like worst power that you could have? What power would you not want to have?
Worst for humanity or for me?
For you personally, like what power would you not want to get? Because it's kind of like, I mean, just think of like X-Men. Like there's some of those mutants have powers that they really wish they didn't have. So if you got a superpower, what would be like the worst one for you specifically?
Oh man.
I know it's a weird question.
It's like interesting, right? So it's just like, what's the worst one for me or like for humanity?
It's for you.
Like,
it's for you personally.
What am I gonna be like? Am I gonna like what power would hurt me the most?
It would be a power that you wouldn't want to get. You'd say, you know what? I'd rather not even have this power. I'd rather just be like just a human. I don't want any special powers. Would there be any power out there?
I think maybe anytime I get anxious, I could just like shoot fire from my hands. Like a really anxious person, so it would always be like burning stuff.
Okay, so
That's awesome.
So shooting fire from your hand, it'd pretty much suck because
yeah.
you'd burn everything around you.
It was triggered by anxiety though, like.
Okay, all right. So if your superpower was to shoot fire from your hands, and the only way you can trigger it was by tapping into your anxiety, you would say, "Forget it, I don't want it."
Right. I mean, that's just like one example. Or like if I farted and the whole like earthquake, like it caused a mini earthquake, because I can be a little gassy too sometimes. So I'm like, oh no,
So
that would be the worst.
So you wouldn't want to have that ability just to say, all right, I could start an earthquake. I just got to use my gas power.
I can't.
Right.
All right. But
No.
it'd be kind of cool though that you could start earthquakes on your own. I mean, it's kind of like you could threaten people, say, hey, you better
or
act right.
Someone gives me cheese because I'm lactose intolerant.
Oh
like,
no.
So whatever you
like batten down the hatches.
Oh.
So that whatever you go out to eat, you'd have to watch what they're putting in the food then.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Like, oh no, there was yogurt, and then the whole like a restaurant falls down.
Amazing. I can't. You guys are ridiculous. So I'm gonna get us on track, and
yeah, that was a little off.
we're gonna talk about your gangster rap game. So when did you start rapping?
I started rapping like 8 years ago. I was dating a noise musician, and I love attention, let me tell you. I used to like live for karaoke, and so I was like, ooh, I'm dating a musician. Mm-hmm. I should try to start a band so I can get people to look at me.
That's awesome.
So, like, but I can't really sing at all. Like, I can sing better now that I've been like doing more music stuff, but like I was super tone deaf at that moment, so I was like, what skills do I have to bring to the table? Oh, I can probably rap. So I started rapping about like really silly things like eating snacks and like Smurfs being blue. It like really wrote itself, Smurfs are blue. But anyway, so it's just like I would just rap about like super, super random, like silly, funny things like wearing spandex pants and that kind of stuff. And then the relationship ended. And I really loved rapping at that point. So I was just like, oh, cool. Let me just actually try to be good at this and not just make these like ridiculous songs about trapper keepers.
Gotcha.
What made you want to share your talent with the world? Why did you say, hey, I guess you kind of went into it, but I mean, you can give us a little bit more background.
Well, like, I think bigger, like, picture, like, your videos, like, you have, like, you do elaborate productions, it seems like, per song, which I love. Like, how, like, yeah, what made you take it to the next level, I guess?
Right. Yeah. When I was a child, I always knew I wanted to be an artist. So, like, I would always just, like, make things. Like, my mom has so many, like, weird, like, earrings and, like, things that I would make. But I always would try to, like, make little things. Like, I used to have this side hustle when I was, like, in 4th grade where I would make these dolls. And then I would sell them. I had those briefcases that had, like, the locks on it. So I would, like, lock and keep my money in it. And I would have, like, the assortment of dolls and, like, which one do you want? And so I was always, like, really, like, crafty and, like, into making things. And so when I was in high school, I knew for sure that I, like, wanted to be artist in some capacity, but my parents were like, honey, we're not gonna, like, support you. Like, you can be an artist if you want to be, but, like, you have to support yourself financially, so, like, just choose wisely. So I, like, went into design. So I went to design school. This is all relevant. I'm sorry, it's a little meandering. So I went to design school and, like, studied graphic design, and from there I was kind of, like, interested in just, like, making these, like, weird side projects and, like, you know, exploring things from, like, a more artistic, that artistic side. Like, I had a blog called Informed Revolution where I would post different images that I made or that my friends made that were reacting to social issues that were going on or news stories. And I just kept, like, stepping up each of my projects. Because, I mean, I just want everything that I do to, like, me to give 100%. And how I do it. So I'm like, and I really do enjoy making work and expressing my ideas through my work. And so it just, like, kind of was this evolution. And then I started doing music, and I'm like, I was working with another friend at the time, and we just, like, had this thing called House of Eves, and we would just do everything. Like, we would make the music videos. My friend, she would do the makeup. I would do the art direction. Like, there was, like, this one thing where, like, I made all these elaborate animal masks, and then she did all this, like, kind of, like, tribal looking makeup, and we made, like, a music video that way. So it's just kind of like me using all the skills I have kind of harnessed my whole life, and to just keep making interesting work. So I just, like, want, whenever I make a video or have a song that people are like, oh wow, that's, like, pretty fresh, like, you know, like, imagining a different world, right? It should be how the world exists, where, like, everyone is accepted and people are just living happily together, and, you know, all body types are celebrated, all people are celebrated, and everyone has a voice, and getting rid of some of those stupid hierarchies that exist in the world that we actually live in. So I just want to keep making, like, that kind of work, and, like, just my years and years of, like, doing all these, like, weird art projects and, like, building my skills. I was like, okay, I can do this with my friends.
Okay, so what's conscious rap to you?
Oh, that's, like, an interesting question too, right? Like, because I know in the early, like, 2000s, late 90s, there was actually, like, a moment in mainstream where, like, conscious rap was, like, you know, amazing groups like The Roots or Mos Def, people who were talking about more things that were political or just not about, like, completely being, like, a mindless capitalist person. I like, think that because of the internet, it's been, like, really cool, because there's, like, so many different ways that people can express themselves and, like, show their work. And someone who's, like, living in a small place in West Virginia, they can still have an audience, and they can still share their ideas and exchange it with people, like, in other countries, which I think is really cool. So I feel like now, like, conscious rap is just, like, just changed so much, and it's just, like, there's so many different people doing things. They might not be, like, completely in the mainstream like it was in that moment in the, like, early 2000s, but I still feel like, you know, there's still, like, really interesting things going on.
What style do you consider yourself as? Do you put yourself in a genre, or what do you consider?
You have to when you're, like, putting your music up online. I just usually just say rap or, like, electro, because I like to rap over, like, super electronic beats.
Okay.
But, like, as far as, like, giving myself, like, a subgenre, I haven't really done that. Like, I was trying to start something called riot rap. I don't know if you guys know about the riot girl movement.
I think maybe. Yeah, explain it. Tell our audience.
So, like, the riot girl movement, it was, like, in the early 90s where, like, punk was huge, and it was like started in like Seattle and Portland, and all of these women, you know, because it was not like I mean there were punk female bands, but it wasn't like this specific space for like women and girls to like tell their stories. And so it was all these women who were just like working together and like playing gigs together, like Bikini Kill, that were punk, but they were also women, and it was like a lot of feminist music, and it was very political.
Okay. What about you were saying, Khalil, Nerdcore? Is that?
Oh yeah,
the Nerdcore
Those
hip
are my
hop.
homies. Like I'm friends with MC Front a lot. He was like basically one of the fathers of Nerdcore. I was just hanging out with some of the Nerdcore dudes like last week.
But you wouldn't consider your style under that type of.
Well, it could be. Like I'm not like super nerdy in that like I don't talk about like video games, but I am like a nerd for feminism, and I feel like in that way because like a lot of the stuff I do talk about is very topical and is very like something I'm passionate about and it's like super specific. It could fall under nerdcore in that way.
Cool. Okay.
Is there also?
I don't know. It just depends. Like I feel like I'm kind of on the outskirts. I'm definitely friends with a lot of people in like the nerdcore scene. But yeah.
Do you know if there's any genre for like rapping about just social media kind of issues? Is there, or is that there's not really a subgenre for hip hop in terms of that? So I know in some of your songs you'll talk about Facebook trolling. You'll talk about like beef that people have on the internet. Like, is that a specific genre, or is that just kind of it's just called hip hop?
I mean, I think that would just be hip hop. I mean, I feel like we can almost like over categorize everything, but I do feel like life is super fluid, right? So it's just like, yeah, like I can be nerdcore sometimes. I also can be like super punk sometimes. I can also be like dancey sometimes, and sometimes I am like a little pop too. I feel like. So I feel like a lot of things, I think that's with the internet, like things can become more fluid where it's not like you aren't in this like one bucket and that bucket is like where you'll stay. You can kind of like hop around in a lot of different buckets. But like I think as far as like rapping about the internet, especially like me being a female using the internet, like that's just something that's like really has impacted me because it's just like I feel like every time I make something and it gets some attention, there's gonna be someone telling me that my body is like horrible or that like I'm bad just because I'm a woman who's like using my voice and I'm not like conforming to like the media beauty standard, you know?
True, very true.
Who are your influencers for your rap style?
Well, I really like she's not really a rapper as much as like electro music. She does like rap, but Peaches, I love Peaches.
Okay. Cool.
She's just like one of my favorite. And then also just from songwriting, she's also not a rapper, but Sia, because she's just such a beautiful songwriter, and there's just such a like she says so much. There's such an economy of words, and so she says so much, but she's not using like a lot of words. It's just like she's so smart with how she chooses words and how she puts it together, and it's just so emotional and beautiful, like the story she's telling, and it's just reflecting this like really honest part of like human emotion, and I just really love that. MIA is like another rapper that I like really like. I love that whole like dancey vibe, and also she's like very political. I like that as well. Like Lizzo, she's like I love Lizzo.
Lizzo's dope. Yeah.
I mean, there's like so many people like Barf Troop, TT the Artist, Girly, Lee Kelly 47. There's so many. I mean, and that's what I just love. I mean, I know I'm like in this love affair with the internet. Apparently, I love the internet, but I do feel like the internet does give a lot of people who normally wouldn't have a voice. Like, I mean, I would not have really any fan base outside of like my friends if it wasn't for the internet, right? Because then you can just like share your music. I'm not on a label, so it's just like a great way and tool for people to like share messages. It's like beautiful, and like a lot more people. You know, you see a lot of like feminist rappers and you see a lot of queer rappers, and it's just like I think it's because of the internet there's like more spaces for people to tell their stories, and it doesn't have to be like filtered through like major labels.
Absolutely. Okay, now with the current state of affairs with like rap, like how would you say like what the game is like? Do you feel like current day rappers are trying to be more conscious or trying to share their truth, or are people just being commercial? Like what how would you kind of draw the picture of like what's going on in the industry?
Well, I just feel like there's so much variety, you know? Like, I mean, it's hard. I mean, if you're talking just about mainstream rap, yeah, I mean, I don't think we're having that same moment that we had when conscious rap was like really like big in the mainstream, where you could find it on major labels and like, you know, any CD store. But like the nature of music itself has changed, right? Like I don't even have a CD player at my house. Like, you know, that's like not an option. So a lot of the music I do procure is like through the internet, and it maybe sometimes it is filtered through tastemakers, but they're maybe not necessarily those like big label tastemakers like they used to be. So yeah, I mean, I don't know like about, I mean, I just think the game is just changing, and that it's like wide open now because like there's so many different voices, you know.
Gotcha. Okay.
So looking at your videos, you have a very unique art style, and each video like differs next to next. So how do you come up with the themes for your music videos?
Well, I mean, the theme is always influenced by the song, right? But I am a pop artist. Like, I don't know if you've seen my Instagram page, but I like make a lot of like objects, everyday objects, out of unconventional materials. Like, I just posted a picture of a cactus I made out of paper towel rolls and newspaper.
Nice.
I mean, because Michel Gondry, he's one of my like total like visual arts inspirations. But I just really like that idea of just like creating this like fantastical world that's just like a little bit better than what we have now. It's like fun and like pop art and bright and bold. And I like want that whole like idea of just like the fantasy, but like kind of like realistic but slightly not realistic fantasy to exist in my music videos. It's just kind of like a theme that I like to keep exploring.
As a female, do you think it's harder than being male in the rap industry, or has the field really leveled out now for both genders? Is it kind of equal now?
I mean, I do feel like just as a female, it's always going to be a little bit harder than as a male, just because of the patriarchy. Until we completely dismantle the patriarchy, I mean, no matter what you do, if you're like an actuary or if you're a rapper, I do feel like it's harder, you know, like women still don't make as much as men, you know, like most fields. And so like, of course, like also being a Black person is like harder in a lot of ways than if you were a white person, you know? So yeah, of course, being female in the rap game is harder because being a female is harder.
Gotcha. Now, do you collaborate with other female rappers as well, or no?
Yeah, I definitely like work with other female rappers. I love when I find like new women who rap. I love discovering that and like connecting with them.
Cool.
The main producer I work with is also a woman, and I really love that relationship as well.
Very cool. Okay.
Where do you perform at? Can people see you in person yet, or how's that working?
Yeah, I've been performing. I mean, I've been a musician for like 8 years, right? So like I've performed, like, I mean, I try to only do it like once a month, but like it's normally in like Brooklyn, sometimes in like Lower Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just like I don't really do showcases, but like yeah, like you can probably catch me in a show like soon. There's actually a show I can't really
talk about
right now, but it'll be a secret show in like 2 weeks, so that should be cool.
We loved seeing you at the Fat Girls Dance event. That was awesome when you did the Thunder Thighs.
Right? We saw you perform. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Now, what tips do you have, since you've been doing this for a while now, what tips you have for other like up and coming rappers or women, who are trying to be more expressive, right? And kind of embrace their artistry. What advice do you have for them?
Right. My first bit of advice is just to like not try to make this your day job. Because I feel like a lot of people, they go into like music or doing something, anything with the intention of like getting famous so they can like get money and do these things. And it's like, it's really hard, right? So it's like, if you were kind of just doing things for the artistry of it, it makes things a lot more pleasurable and the pressure is off of it. I mean, for me, I am very privileged because I have a very flexible day job where I can also, like, it's easy to work on music and, like, to drop things and, like, go on tour if I want. But I do feel like if people, like, focus more on just, like, their artistry, like, stepping up their game, and then that way they, like, can just kind of, like, tell their own stories, just, like, be themselves and not try to, like, be like someone else or try to, like, fit in somewhere, like, if you are yourself, there is going to be a market because, like, I think people are really attracted to people who are, like, super honest and, like, open about who they are and not trying to, like, pretend to be something else to be cool. So I would say, like, like, do it for art and not for money. And two, like, be yourself and like, you know, just make the music that you want to make. And even if you feel like it might be weird and you might not fit in somewhere, it's just like, you know, you can create your own lane. And then you'll own that lane. If no one's in it, you know, you can go as fast as you want or slow. So,
interesting. When I coach people, it's always about like intention, kind of like what you're saying. And so that's interesting that you're saying you would advocate that you shouldn't approach rap as like a business, but you're saying like literally for the art of it. And then if it develops into a business, then would you switch your strategy or?
Yeah, if you wanted to, but I'm just saying it's so much pressure. I've just seen so many like young rappers and like, oh, they get discouraged because it's not like popping off like they wanted to. But like you'll never be discouraged if you're just making like, if you made like a cool song, you're like, whoa, that song is like dope, you know, like that sounded really cool and I really expressed myself, and that's what you're after, and not like that goal of like getting like 1 million Twitter followers or whatever.
Gotcha.
Like I find whenever you're looking at things from outside of yourself, it's like you're never going to be satisfied, right? So my approach with like art is just kind of like making it for reasons within yourself, and of course the people pick it up, and you have the privilege of working as an artist full time. Like, you know, go for it if that's what you want to do, but I wouldn't have that be the intention starting out. I would think, hey, I'm interested in this and I'm interested in exploring these ideas. Let me just do that and be happy and just the act that I can do that.
That's interesting. That's great advice, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I had another question. So if you could go back in time, is there anything that you would do different with, I guess, in your career so far?
Oh my gosh, this is the thing. And I don't know, this is so funny. That's like a funny question. Because I was thinking the other day, I was like meditating and I was just like, what would have happened if I was like, when I was like 22, if I just like married the person I was dating, stayed in North Carolina, and kind of just like settled down? You know, I would be like a whole different person. I couldn't even imagine that. And so like, it's kind of interesting when you think about like these questions of how would you make what would you do different? Because even like a small change that you would make in your past could completely like re-alter your present, right? So I think that could be like quote unquote better or worse, like what is good and what is bad, but like, you know, like it could completely change it in a way that maybe you weren't anticipating. Even if you think that would have made it like for the better, could maybe not be better, right? But one thing I've always told people is like, I wish when I was 16 that I had just joined like an all-girl punk band. You know,
that's awesome.
I would have loved that. That would have been so much fun. Like just for the experience, and like, you know, the whole like when you're a teenager, you're so passionate about so many things, everything's so new, you're so curious, and you're just taking in so much things. And so I just like wonder how songwriting would be
interesting.
That way. That's like more from a curiosity, like, oh, that could have been interesting, because I like love, like as I mentioned, I love the Riot Girl movement, right? The whole like Riot Girl thing, and I was like, oh man, I wish I could have been like that cute like 14-year-old punk girl who's making zines and like, you know, like going to see like Bikini Kill and yeah.
Awesome.
All right, so a question I had. I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you freestyle? Could you like drop something for our listeners?
God, I'm like the worst. And that's like why I was like, am I like a whack rapper? Am I just like whack? Oh my god. I'm more of a like writer. Like I really love written, but like yeah, with freestyling, and I always end up telling my business. I'm like, ooh, honey, I just done told this story about myself, and I'm like freestyling because like everything just comes out, and I just start like, I'm like, oh, well, you didn't know I like hooked up with that person, but now you do.
Very nice.
I see. Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay,
I hear you.
All right, that's fine. Is there anything else you'd like to share then?
No, I just wrote a song last week.
Cool.
So there's definitely going to be new music coming out soon. I'm going to South by Southwest in March. And so like I'm hoping to release like a small little EP before then. Good. I'm about to go on tour next week with Tune Yards. So super pumped about that. Like I love that band so much. And so it's really cool to finally, like, you know, like you have these role models, and then it's like, oh wow, now I'm like on tour with them and I'm sharing a stage. That's dope.
That's amazing. Yeah, we bought your album, so super excited to continue to share your movement and all that you're doing. You're dope.
Thank you.
And also, could you share with our listeners where can they buy your album? Like, where can they find your music? What's the best place?
Of course. you can get my music on Bandcamp, on my Bandcamp. All of that goes directly to me. But then also, like, if you don't want to go on Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, any like music channel, basically Tidal is on there too. So yeah, and then like if you want to follow me on SoundCloud, sometimes I like drop like little, you know, like demo kind of tracks or things I'm like playing with. So yeah, like if you want to follow me on SoundCloud, that's like definitely how to like hear like the new.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for an awesome interview. And yeah, just keep like thriving. You are badass and we love you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Wow. It is now at the time that we always hate, which is the end of our episode. Oh man. We are at the end of the 9th episode of Woke and Free. And I can't even like just get together the fact that all of the things that we covered today. And thank you, Miss Eves, for hanging out with Woke and Free. That was really, really awesome. Now, I guess we have to decide what we're going to do. Are we going to let our listeners know what's coming up next, or do we leave them hanging?
On our next episode, we will be discussing, are we too PC? Or politically correct? Make sure you tune in next week for Woke and Free Wednesday to join the conversation at www.wokenfree.com.
If you want to be a guest like Miss Eves, make sure that you hit us up on the website, submit a topic for an upcoming episode, tell us how you feel about what we talked about today or any of our previous episodes, and we definitely will get back to you, of course. And if you hit us up on social media, you know I'm always there. Hit us up.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do. Share the episode and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for Woke and Free Wednesdays. Until next time, folks.